BTS have been dealing with bad interviews throughout their entire career, but on top of the uncomfortable American interviews and repetitive questions, BTS have also had some interviews that had the potential to ruin their careers as a whole. Be Free incident. Whether you believe it or not, people have been trying to get BTS down ever since the beginning. In 2013, Yoongi, Namjoon, a rapper who called himself Be Free, and other rappers were guests in a broadcast titled Kim Bong-hyun's Hip Hop Invitational First Anniversary broadcast. But since BTS had their first comeback by then and were appearing on the broadcast for that very reason, there were a few fans who were present at the recording and wanted to take pictures of the boys. Witnessing the entire ordeal, the underground rappers that were participating in the broadcast started taking jabs at them. In the video taken by an army, you can hear someone ask whether idol rappers and underground rappers should be considered part of the same scene. Then the MC also asked whether idol rappers and the rapping scene were two things that went well together. To this, Namjoon answered, "I know when people think of idols, they think of the makeup and clothes, but honestly, if you just listen to our album itself, our album is very hip-hop. This is where things get heated." Another rapper commented, "Hip-hop is not just the name of a genre, it's bigger than that, so I think it's more of a rap album than hip-hop." Be Free then went on to say, "It's just an album that has rap." Namjoon then says since he's part of both the underground scene and a K-pop idol, he can understand both sides and is trying to find a balance between both. Then the rapper started making comments about their makeup and accused them of not wanting to go to Seoul because they didn't want to experience hardships. Yoongi responded, "I eventually came up to Seoul because I wanted to continue doing music with my crew Hyungs, and I thought to myself that it'd be good to first build up more recognition, and that would be a way to continue doing music with the Hyungs." Be Free used his answer to accuse them of wanting to use an easy way to get recognition and money. He said, "You guys could have taken the road towards becoming rappers, but you couldn't beat that temptation. Is BTS's music hip-hop? Is wearing makeup on stage like a girl hip-hop?" This comment stinks and it's totally uncalled for. Yoongi tried to explain that they just wanted to reach more people with their music, but Be Free seemed persistent in making them feel as uncomfortable as possible. If you watch the interview, you can literally feel the tension and anger through the screen. Yeah, very awkward. Namjoon dropped a diss track against Be Free a couple years later and rapped, "I just wanted to rap. You said I'm a puppet. I'm not. Even if that's the reason that people diss me, whether I'm an artist or an idol, don't give an F, this is my life. Whether this becomes porridge or rice, it's the table I laid out for myself." Be Free ended up apologizing to them in 2019, 6 years after the broadcast, tweeting, "To BTS and their fans, I am so sorry for all the emotional pain I've caused. Please forgive me." His apology wasn't welcomed nor accepted by fans, as he had continued talking ill of BTS after the interview and enjoying the attention he got from the controversy. In fact, on one occasion, he had claimed that he would slap the BTS members when he'd see them. I know BTS are big enough not to care now, but man, this interview was one of the worst I've seen. Kudos to them for handling it so professionally. BTS Code Interview. Since we're already discussing awkward interviews BTS had to do at the very beginning of their careers, we must talk about this one. In 2014, BTS made an appearance on BTS Code to promote their album School Love Affair. The members were put in difficult positions when they were asked about their school uniform part of their concept. Why was this controversial, you might ask? Well, even though school uniforms had been a thing in the K-pop industry way before EXO debuted, it was them who made the concept popular. And with BTS using the concept for their album, many were accusing them of copying their senior group, including the hosts of the show. During the Q&A part of the show, the members were straight up asked, "You copied EXO's school uniform concept?" All we can do is be thankful that BTS are always ready for questions like this and answering them in the best and most professional way possible. Yoongi took the opportunity to address the accusations and said, "Our current song is the last one of our 3-part school-themed concept. We thought since it was school-themed, we must wear uniforms, but coincidentally, it was during the same time frame, so we're actually thankful to be compared to them." The host then kept pressing about the issue, joking that most groups would avoid doing the same things as EXO, but BTS did them despite knowing that they'd get backlash for doing something similar to their senior group. The tension got resolved once everyone started joking around, but why were they going so hard on a bunch of rookies, especially knowing that it's the company who decides their concepts? Plagiarism accusations. Based on this interview alone, journalists should be warned that they shouldn't cross any lines when it comes to BTS. In April 2019, BTS held a press conference for the release of their album Map of the Soul Persona. The event also had a Q&A segment where journalists who were present could ask questions. A reporter completely misused the chance to ask BTS literally anything about the creative process and instead asked them about accusations from 2016. The reporter from a media outlet called Star News questioned the members about the plagiarism accusations they faced for the song Blood, Sweat, and Tears. He started, "You mentioned a lot about the inspiration inspirations behind your albums, and I want to ask you a question about how you gain inspiration from various works. I was curious if you were inspired by other works for your previous albums outside of the latest one. Not bad, right? It gets worse, believe me. He went on, last February, there were talks about Blood, Sweat, and Tears being inspired by another work. I was wondering if you can talk more about that or about the news reports that talked about it. Yoongi and Namjoon wondered if he was talking about the artwork that inspired the albums, especially Wings, which looked like them being generous and giving the reporter a way out of embarrassing himself. As you might have guessed by now, the reporter still decided to embarrass himself. He got right to the point and asked, I brought up Wings and Blood, Sweat, and Tears because I wanted to know if it's plagiarizing. I wanted to know more about the issues brought up by the French photographer. The members looked visibly taken aback, then very annoyed by the question based on their very relatable reactions. It's not every day that reporters ask about plagiarism issues to their faces. Yoongi, even though seemingly very irritated, handled the question as professionally as possible, responding, in regards to that, our company's legal team is talking to the photographer. I believe that our official stance will be the same as our company's. Our company is currently looking into it, so I'm sure we'll know when the results come out. The netizens were baffled at the question and how unprepared the reporter was with his question, seeing as he stumbled over his words when he asked it. If you were wondering though, the French photographer who accused the BTS members of stealing his concept for the Blood, Sweat, and Tears music video ended up taking back his claims. Based on this was probably a cheap way for the photographer to get attention, but he backed out once there was a lawsuit hanging above his head. Yoongi knew that they did nothing wrong and that the law would handle it, so why would he bother dealing with a trash reporter? Chart manipulation? Since ARMYs are probably the biggest fandom in the world, it's not much of a surprise that BTS are pulling the numbers that they do. But it also raised a lot of questions, among others, about the reliability of these numbers. Foreign reporters especially talked about how the fandom purchased physical albums in bulk and coordinated buying albums and songs digitally in order to influence chart performances. Even though it's normal for reporters to stir things up by making claims of chart manipulation, it's common courtesy to not make these claims right in front of the members. Billboard held an interview with the members in 2021, pointing out how BTS have been managing to top every music chart possible, despite having weaker numbers in streaming and less radio plays than the pop stars they were competing against. To these claims, Namjoon responded, it's a fair question, but if there is a conversation inside Billboard about what being number one should represent, then it's up to them to change the rules and make streaming weigh more on the ranking. He said it very well. He continued, slamming us or our fans for getting to number one with physical sales and downloads? I don't know if that's right. It just feels like we're easy targets because we're a boy band, a K-pop act, and we have this high fan loyalty. He spilled all the tea there was to spill. It's so great to see him speak out on how differently the Western music industry treats artists like BTS in comparison to other Western acts. The reporters need to understand that the Western entertainment industry is much different from the Korean one. I think it's time that they learn. What do you think was the worst interview BTS did? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching today's video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!